So God is working in a wonderful way that He can let our spirits be in one accord. Leviticus 26 verse 6 says, I will grant peace in the land, and you will lie down, and no one will make you be afraid. He's our peace. He was broken on every wall. He's our peace. Just cast your care on Him, for He cares for you. He is our peace. storm. Because God is there with you.
You've been in a storm, feel like forever, and I know your future has been so long. Yeah, your ship has lost anchor.
Good morning, church. I want to especially welcome those of you who came in a little late. I know a few of you came in a little late, including my sister. I just want to welcome you in the name of the Lord. Thanks all. Great to see also some of our friends, my friends who I haven't seen since last year, Sister Dion and others. Great to see you guys again. We're going to read from the NIV, the New International Version, and I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2, beginning verse 7 to 9, and then 15 through to 24. Genesis chapter 2, 7 to 9, and then 15 through to 24 from the NIV version. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now the Lord God had planted a vineyard, a garden in the east of Eden, and there he put the man he had formed. And the Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. I want you to recognize his stewardship, to work it and to take care of it. And the Lord God commanded the man, "You're free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die." The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper, a partner, suitable for him." Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the air. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds of the air, and all the beasts of the field. But for Adam no suitable helper, no suitable partner was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib, and he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. Blessed God, that must have been beautiful. He'd never seen anything like himself before, and what he was seeing was more beautiful than himself. God knows how to give good gifts. He gives us better than we deserve. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." And Genesis says, "For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, be married to his wife, and they will become one flesh." God will bless his word. Now my talk this morning won't be an exposition of the passage that I have read, but I will refer to our stewardship and of course to marriage. So it's going to be in your thoughts, you can have those two words in mind, stewardship and marriage. As a country, indeed as a world, we come into 2020 with real crisis on our hands. A whole lot of baggage. We heard this morning earlier about Iran shooting down an airliner with over 100 passengers, thinking that it was a US cruiser. What a world we live in. I heard the news this morning and it said someone was killed in Port Moore, and that in areas of Kingston, Mountain View, soldiers are there because of perhaps scores, dozens of people who have been killed. We are a socially corrupt country. Indeed, we are a socially corrupt world. And in Jamaica, it's from top to bottom. We are murdering our brothers and our sisters and children and raping our women. That is a frightening scene. In many places in Jamaica, it's safer in the evenings, in the nights, to stay behind locked doors, closed doors and closed grills than to walk along in the streets. People are afraid, particularly in the towns, people are afraid of being robbed or raped or maimed or killed by robbers, by criminals, and by reckless drivers. And we can ask the question, is there any hope? Yes, there is hope. You know, in one of the songs we sang early on, God will make all things beautiful in His time. God, the eternal God, will make all things beautiful in His time in Jesus Christ. Because the great victory has been won, not by God, but by man on Calvary. Because Jesus shared our life and He won a great victory on the cross. Is our situation hopeless? No, it's not hopeless. God, the eternal God, will make all things beautiful in His time. In Jamaica, we have more churches per capita than any other country in the world. Yet we have more gangs, more gangsters in our little town than in any other country in the world. The church has lost its vision. The church has abandoned its stewardship. We're guilty of scamming, murdering, robbing, and raping. One Japanese businessman described Jamaicans as cultural thieves. And he told the story of how he took, he had some pipes which he said wasn't the usual diameter. And he dropped a whole lot of them near his place of business. And a man took a truckload of the pipes and dropped them miles away from his place of business. Of course, there's no market for them. Nobody was buying pipes of that diameter. So they were there. And after a while, he said, we just took our truck and took them back to our place. Not long after my wife and I came to live here, a reputable American magazine compared Jamaica fiscally with Greece. Now, Greece was at that time, I'm not sure now, was referred to the poor man in Europe, the sick man in Europe. And that was because of its wayward governance. Now, it may well, because of slowness of change in countries like Greece, that other countries like Britain is pulling out of the European Union. It may well be, I said, because of the slowness of the pace of change in countries like Greece. I remember there was a time when people were retiring at 55 in Greece. But the magazine went on to say that Jamaica was in a worse situation than Greece, because it said Jamaica had a bad social problem. Now that's the situation that I have described earlier. Killing, corruption, complete lack of integrity. And I say that with pain. Since that time, Jamaica, or rather since that comparison was made, Jamaica has improved economically. Jamaica has successfully completed the IMF program. And I say successfully, bear in mind our past history with the IMF. And the Jamaican dollar, which has always been very wayward, has shown some sort of stability as we came into Christmas. Some of the financial houses and the finance minister would tell us that it's really inflation that matters. The retail price index, as they say, inflation. It's really that matters. Even if more people are coming into poverty, it's really inflation, they say, that really matters. Jamaica is no longer spending 149% of its GDP. It's spending 95%, which means that if we don't borrow any more money from the IMF or the World Bank or anybody else, we still have 5% to spend to make our flyovers or to spend it whichever way we want to spend it. I know that some of you are not interested in finance because you may say that it's boring. Some of you may have no interest in the state of the country. Some of you may even be saying, that's not what I come to church to hear. Well, I'm going to ask you, what about your stewardship? What about your stewardship? I'm going to be harsh and to say to you this morning as a church, that's the reason that Jamaica is in the state that we find ourselves. Because some of us, even in churches, don't care. The church has lost its feeling. The church has abandoned its stewardship. The church has lost its vision. I don't hear the church saying no mining in the Coptic country. I don't hear the church saying anything about preserving our ecosystem. We rather lay down like dead sheep and allow them to cut the valuable wool from our backs. And we don't care if we're transporting water in trucks, even when it's raining. In short, we are no stewards at all. We are no stewards at all. The church is rather like the prodigal son who took his father's money and spent it in riotous and wanton living. Just as we say we're just here to sing and shout. We're just here for the beer. We're just here for fun. What about marriages? I don't see many of those happening in our churches and in our country. In any of our churches, minimal. I don't hear the sound of wedding bells. I don't hear the sound of rejoicing. Despite the fact that we have some of the most beautiful girls in our churches, some of the most elegant girls in our churches. If I were to come here as a bachelor, perhaps I would have been married 12 times over. The effectiveness of the church has to be measured not in the ratio of churches to people, not in churches per capita, the ratio of churches per capita, but in the moral state of our country. We can't just stay aloof as a church and say we have no responsibility for what's happening. If Jamaica was the most peaceful country in the world, all of us would say it's because of the church. The number of churches we have, the church doing their job. Unfortunately, we can't say that because the church has gone to sleep. It is sad to hear somebody saying that Jamaicans are cultural thieves. I would prefer to hear the same voice saying that Jamaica is a good place to live, to do business, and to raise our families. I said earlier that there is no sound of wedding bells, no rejoicing in our streets. Where I grew up in South East St. Elizabeth, we lived in a lane. And from the time we left the main road on the right side, we knew that it was Mr. and Mrs. Sidney Miller. And there are a host of other Millers who lived in there. We used to call it Millertown. Everybody married. And as we came along the lane, on the left side, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Myers. Again on the right side, Mr. and Mrs. Brother Binns, and they had a little shop. And as you went along the lane, there were the Knights on one side, Mr. and Mrs. And on the left side the same, and then you came to where we lived, Mr. and Mrs. Hewitt, and other Hewitts. And then as you carried on, Mr. and Mrs. Binns, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. We carried on a whole mile and a half down the lane. Everybody married. I went to London and I heard some Caribbean people saying that most Jamaicans are bastards. And I was so angry and told them that it's a lie. Only to read when I came back here some years afterwards that 72% of our homes don't have any men. It was the mothers and grandmothers who were taking responsibility for the children. Church must wake up from its slumber and get back to basics. The church must let its voice be heard in important matters. Church must take responsibility for its community and for the country. The church must tell the good news about Jesus Christ. One of the pieces we sang earlier, and I said, in the day of Christ, God will make everything wonderful and beautiful. Church must carry on telling people about God's offer of salvation. Church must promote marriage and challenge people about their lifestyle. The church must declare, and not just declare, but demonstrate that there is a better way. And that must be seen as we tell people about the salvation that God offers, and as we show our love and kindness to one another and to our neighbors. Do you remember what Jesus said in John's Gospel? He said, that's how people will know that we are His disciples, when we show and demonstrate love one to the other. I heard that Vybz Kartel and Ninja Man were producing records from behind bars. I don't hear the church's voice saying that it's wrong. The church is again silent. Thank God for Lisa Hanna. I pray God would bless her. She stood her ground and she said prison is for reformation. Even when her life was threatened, she didn't withdraw her statement. As you heard early on, this year we're celebrating the 150th year of the church's anniversary. Part of that celebration you heard will be on the 16th right here, and then on the 17th the crusade in the church and in the neighborhood. I want to tell you that it's not Brother Brown's crusade. It's not even Pastor's crusade. It's our crusade. Yeah. This is as good an opportunity that we will get of telling people good news about Jesus. And I'm challenging the church to begin to pray now, those of you who haven't started yet, and invite people to the crusade. Those of you who were early enough and heard the notices, it said that goodness, the cell group goodness will be praying in the first week. The cell group goodness is praying a long time. But all of the cell groups must be praying and inviting friends and neighbors to come and hear the word of God. I'm going to close now. I'm going to challenge the church about praying for the crusade. And not just praying for the crusade, but supporting this crusade with your presence and inviting your friends so that they may come and hear the word of God. If you're here this morning and you're not a Christian, you're not saved, you don't have to wait for the crusade. Your crusade can begin right now if you give your life to the Lord Jesus. We're going to close by singing, "Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I come." And as we sing that, if you are not sure about your salvation, just come forward and stand in your seat where you are, and we're willing to pray for you. Your crusade could begin this Sunday morning.
It's 473. 473. So.
Let us stand.
And you might say, he has not spoken a gospel message. But I want to say to you this morning, I have gathered that he is a man that has done his research, because he touched every area of our lives and our society and our living. And this morning, I want you to look into it and see where you fit. If you have fit, under the banner of the Lord Jesus Christ. One who is born again. One who are not degrading in society, but are in a place to uplift the society. And if you are not in a place where you are lifting up the society, as we sing this song, I want to join those of us who are in that bracket of wanting to lift the society higher. Just as I am without one thing. God came and He brought salvation. And you, no matter how far down you have gone into the pit, you must make a simple plea, and He is there for you. So we are going to sing stanza 3, just as I am, don't will receive.
is extended
Yes.
and will continue to be extended. Oh Heavenly Father, we thank you for your word. We know your word is quick, and your word shall not pass away. Heaven and earth will pass away, but your word abides forever.
Yes, Lord.
We thank you for the word that is always calling us to come. Come, for the feast is ready. The Spirit and the bride say, come. And they that are thirsty must come. So Father, as we have put out this invitation for those who are out of God in Christ, come and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. Father, we pray that your word will continue to linger into the hearts and the minds of all who are here today. For those of us who have trusted you through your Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we pray, Lord, that you'll give us the commitment and the dedication to go forward